Good morning, my friends. It is good to see you. I don't know if it's morning where you are, but it is morning here. I have just rolled out of bed. We got a tight schedule today. Today, I'm not going to belabor the point and bore you with a super long introduction. If you've been here before, you know what we do. If you have not, here's the deal. We are going to look at the strength training routine of one of your favorite athletes in the realm of combat sports. We are going to break down their strength training routine, letting you know what we like, what we don't like, and what you can take to utilize in your own routine at home to better what you're doing, make it more safe and more effective. Today, the subject of the video is an MMA legend, somebody who fought in StrongFirst back in the day, who was a UFC champion. We are looking at the strength training routine of none other than Miesha Tate. Last year, Miesha made her return to the octagon after almost a 5-year hiatus and 2 children later. In this video, she talks a little bit about some of the things she did differently for that comeback fight as opposed to the things she was doing previously or the resources that she had available to her. She says things very eloquently in this video, so we're gonna let her talk for part of it so you can get an idea of what she did and how she did it. Without further ado, let's get started and take a look at Miesha Tate's strength training routine. So let's get into it. Miesha is starting off the video just talking a little bit about her strength training, how it has changed, how it has evolved, and what she's anticipating for her return to the octagon, which was a few weeks out at this point.
Mentally and emotionally, these are the ways that you get yourself in check. It's a different thing. She's predominantly a grappler, but man, she's got the dog in her, she's got that fight in her, and now we're not even talking about a boxing fight. We're talking about MMA when it's going to be very physical. And yeah.
I remember watching Miesha back in the day when she was in StrongFirst, and I think she had 2 fights against Ronda Rousey, which were the biggest fights in women's MMA back in the day, and the biggest rivalry in women's mixed martial arts history probably ever. So we're kicking things off with a little bit of a warm-up. Miesha's doing some jump rope to get some blood circulating. And then we're moving into some farmer's carries, which is an excellent movement for combat sports athletes. It's fairly basic. There's not a lot to it, but it's something that will help to develop muscular endurance, core stability, and postural awareness, all things that are important if you are trying to prevent injury and better your performance. Your core is going to be the powerhouse as an athlete. So doing things to build it in different ways will provide value for you to be better at your sport, regardless of whether your sport is jiu-jitsu or curling. You want to have a strong core. Doing a little more core work here with a plank pull through, which is a dynamic plank variation. And I like adding movement to planks because it makes it more functional. As a static position, it doesn't exactly translate to sport specific activities. Once you start adding movement to it, it becomes more functional. And it's a great movement. We include it in our Momentum WOD programming, and it would be one I would recommend you include in your own strength training at home.
Make the most of it. Strength and conditioning is very important because we get into all kinds of crazy movements, and from striking to wrestling to jiu-jitsu, and you think that you're strong or that you're functionally strong until you come in here, and you have a kettlebell on one side and you're just focused on engaging the core and not allowing any movement or instabilities, I should say. And I think when you come in here and you focus on that, it adds so much to what we already do.
So I didn't want to say anything there because Miesha said it better than I could say it. She talked about the value of strength training for a combat sport athlete because what they do is so unconventional and so dynamic. You need to be able to move your body in a number of ways, fluidly and safely. And she discussed the value of using a kettlebell in that context as an implement that will help to facilitate those goals. So I couldn't have said it better myself. And I think Miesha really summed up why you would want to incorporate an implement like a kettlebell into your strength training routine. I didn't want to interrupt her as she was going, but we passed by Miesha doing some dead cleans in that sequence, and she was doing them very, very well. She was maintaining a strong front rack position. She wasn't compromising her low back in the process, and she wasn't slamming the bell on her forearm as she was doing so. So she was doing a great job. We're going to pause here as Miesha is setting up for a kettlebell swing. I will say her kettlebell swing technique looks really good before we even take a look at it. But there's a minor detail that we've seen in a bunch of our videos, a mistake that she makes that I want to correct, and I want to make sure that you have dialed in if you're going to be performing this exercise. So this has to do with the setup of the movement. We'll notice that Miesha is hiking the bell. She's going to be using that as a way to get her set started in a safe manner and to power the bell into the first repetition of her set. The only problem with this is that she has the bell too far away from her body when initiating this movement. And because of that, her back is not safe. So when you're performing a hike, when you're initiating your set, I would rather that that bell was a little bit closer to you. You still want to have it far enough away where you can pull it to create some momentum, but you want it close enough where your low back isn't vulnerable as hers is in this position. So you can start there and then slowly drag it in until you get to a point where it is properly aligned before your set, about a foot in front of you, and then pull it high and tight into the groin area to begin the first repetition of your set. From there, she's going into her swings. Her first couple of repetitions looked a little rough, and maybe it's a byproduct of that hike technique. But after that, you can see she has an understanding of the exercise. You can see that there's some snap or some pop to her movement, which suggests that the power she is deriving is coming from the posterior chain, which is the point of a kettlebell swing. It's a posterior chain power-based movement. So she's not pulling the bell through the upswing like we've seen a lot of people doing in the past. The only minor detail that I would say to refine her technique a little bit more so would be to wait another half a second before initiating that hip hinge. There's a little bit of a squat to her hinge. So by doing that, by waiting and being a little more patient with it, I think it would eliminate what's happening there. This last movement is something I'm not familiar with. It's like a pendular swing with a steel mace. I'm not extremely sure why you would do that as a grip strength movement maybe, and as a core stability movement. But if you know, let me know. Share in the comments below. Tell me why you would perform a movement like that.
I'm working with WOD Sandoval. He creates programs for me that are customized, and we've worked so much on building a core strength and stability, which is it's very important for all dynamic movement. So coming into the gym is not always about lifting the heaviest weight.
So she's talking about her coach, her strength training coach, WOD Sandoval, who is responsible for her strength training routine. He was demonstrating a 2-arm bent over row alternating, which is an awesome exercise to develop grip strength, core stability, pulling power. And I like that he was pointing out the fact that you want your shoulders level through the movement, which is something personally I have to be conscious of and I have to work on when I am performing ballistic exercises in particular, that tendency to rotate with the bell and not counteract those rotational forces by stabilizing the movement. So little details like that are important for you to be cognizant of, and if you're working with somebody else, for them to be coaching you through as you're doing the movements. So that does it for our technique critique with Miesha Tate today. I've really enjoyed watching this video, not only because I got to see her technique as she was working through these movements, and I got to see that she was doing them very effectively, more so than most of the people we've watched up to this point. But I also liked hearing her mindset, her explanation as to why she was using these tools in her strength training, and for her to convey the value of these implements within her training routine. I really couldn't have said it better, and I think she explained it very well. So I am grateful for her posting this and for her explaining these things to us, because I think it's important to have an understanding not only what to do, but why you're doing it. I will also say that leading up to her fight, I don't know if you saw pictures of Miesha, but she was in the best shape she has been up to this point in her career, and that is after having 2 children. So the notion that you can't build muscle, you can't look good while using kettlebells as your primary strength training implement is simply false. It's an excellent tool for not only building power and functional strength, but for hypertrophy as well. And if you already have a foundation, if you already have built some muscle in the past, you shouldn't have any difficulty maintaining that using this implement. So if your concern is not only to perform well, but to look good, you can certainly do that as well utilizing kettlebells. With that being said, my name is Dr. Brandon Osborne. It has been a pleasure working with you today. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Give me a like, leave a comment below. Tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like. Just give me some feedback. I'd enjoy hearing from you. If you have not done so already, we have a free 7-day trial of performance training using kettlebells at momentumwod.com/join now. And if you've heard me give that spiel, you've already tried the free trial, or you just want to bypass that process, our premium subscription, which provides you with 5 kettlebell workouts a week. It is programming done by yours truly. We have an exercise library, which provides instruction on how to perform all of the kettlebell movements. I believe there's over 75 exercises at this point, and a vault of several hundred kettlebell workouts on top of that, all available to you for now $40 off a month. You can have that at its lowest price ever. Go ahead and check that out. I'll leave a promo code in the description below so you can take full advantage of everything we have to offer over at Momentum WOD. Once again, it's been my pleasure. I've enjoyed doing this today. I thank you for joining me. I will see you again next time. Until then.